Hello, Junior American Lit. This is the first of many recorded lessons that you are going to see from me while we are remote. So my little head up in the corner here is going to be something that you're going to see a lot of. I'm sorry in advance. But I just want to get into this because this recorder only lets me record for 15 minutes. So I want to make sure that I can get as much as I can into this 15 minutes for you. So first of all, today what I'm going to do is I'm going to read you the third Tuesday of Tuesdays with Morrie through The Professor. So we've got a couple chapters to do, shouldn't take too long, but I want to show you where to go to where if you want to read this on your own, you could read it on your own. Also, while I'm reading this to you, you should be filling out your study guide. I am not going to post the study guide keys for you anymore while we are remote. You are going to have to fill those out yourself, okay? So you're going to have to make sure that you watch the videos of me reading the chapters and you fill out your study guide as we go. Once you fill out your study guide, okay, you are going to come to this assignment here. This is due tonight or by the end of the day today. You're going to click on this study guide submission because these are the chapters I'm reading to you today, and you have options for how you can submit it. If you have your study guide with you, okay, the one that we did in class. I know some of you weren't able to take this home with you because you weren't here on Friday. But if you do have that, you can just write your answers down on the study guide. You can take a picture of it on your phone. You can submit it to Schoology that way. Or you can copy your answers on a loose leaf sheet of paper and submit it. So if you go to Schoology, I copied the study guide into Schoology for you. So you can look at the questions and you can just copy down your answers on a loose leaf sheet of paper, write them out, take a picture, submit it. Or you can do the same sort of thing, look at the study guide on Schoology, and you can type your answers in a Word document and submit the Word document if you'd rather not do it from your phone to Schoology. Okay, so you have three options here. I don't care how you do it, just make sure that you submit it so that you can get a grade for it, okay? But if you go into Tuesdays with Morrie, you can just follow along with me because you're going to be able to see the book. Or you can go here to links, and you can go to Tuesdays with Morrie full book. And I want to download this to make it bigger because I would just rather do that. Oh, and then we're on page 18, so I'm going to type in 18, come down here. Okay, so I'm going to start reading this. I would like for you to please fill out your study guide as we go along, and then that way you can just submit it once you're finished with this video, okay? So the third Tuesday we talk about regrets. The next Tuesday I arrived with the normal bags of food, pasta with corn, potato salad, apple cobbler, and something else, a Sony tape recorder. I want to remember what we talk about, I told Morrie. I want to have your voice so I can listen to it later. When I'm dead? Don't say that. He laughed. Mitch, I'm going to die, and sooner, not later. He regarded the new machine. So big, he said. I felt intrusive, as reporters often do, and I began to think that the tape machine between two people who were supposedly friends was a foreign object, an artificial ear, with all the people clamoring for his time. Perhaps I was trying to take too much away from these Tuesdays. Listen, I said, picking up the recorder. We don't have to do this, if it makes you uncomfortable. He stopped me, wagged a finger, then hooked up his glasses off his nose, letting them dangle on the string around his neck. He looked me square in the eye. Put it down, he said. I put it down. Mitch, he continued softly now, you don't understand. I want to tell you about my life. I want to tell you before I can't tell you anymore. His voice dropped to a whisper. I want someone to hear my story. Will you? I nodded. We sat quietly for a moment. So, he said, is it turned on? Now, the truth is that tape recorder was more than nostalgia. I was losing Morrie. We were all losing Morrie. His family, his friends, his ex-students, his fellow professors, his pals from the political discussion groups that he loved so much, his former dance partners, all of us. And I suppose tapes, like photographs and videos, are a desperate attempt to steal something from Death's suitcase. But it was also becoming clear to me, through his courage, his humor, his patience, and his openness, that Morrie was looking at life from some very different place than anyone else I knew. A healthier place, a more sensible place, and he was about to die. If some mystical clarity of thought came when you looked at death in the eye, then I knew Morrie wanted to share it, and I wanted to remember it for as long as I could. The first time I saw Morrie on Nightline, I wondered what regrets he had once he knew his death was imminent. Did he lament lost friends? Would he have done much differently? Selfishly, I wondered if I were in his shoes, would I be consumed with sad thoughts of all that I had missed? Would I regret the secrets I had kept hidden? When I mentioned this to Morrie, he nodded. It's what everyone worries about, isn't it? What if today were my last day on Earth? He studied my face, and perhaps he saw an ambivalence about my own choices. I had this vision of me kneeling over at my desk one day, halfway through his story, my editor snatching the copy even as the medics carried my body away. Mitch, Morrie said. I shook my head and said nothing, but Morrie picked up on my hesitation. Mitch, he said, the culture doesn't encourage you to think about such things until you're about to die. We're so wrapped up with egotistical things, career, family, having enough money, meeting the mortgage, getting a new car, fixing the radiator when it breaks. We're involved in trillions of little acts just to keep going, so we don't get into the habit of standing back and looking at our lives and saying, is this all? Is this all I want? Is something missing? He paused. You need someone to probe you in that direction. It won't just happen automatically. I knew what he was saying. We all need teachers in our lives, and mine was sitting in front of me. This is one of my favorite parts of the book, where he talks about the culture here, where he says the culture doesn't encourage you to think about such things until you're about to die, because we're so wrapped up in our own lives, right? And just like the little daily things, day to day, right? We need to stop and make sure that we think about those things. Fine, I figured. If I was to be the student, then I would be as good a student as I could be. On the plane ride home that day, I made a small list on a yellow legal pad, issues and questions that we all grapple with, from happiness to aging to having children to death. Of course, there were a million self-help books on these subjects, and plenty of cable TV shows and $9 per hour consultation sessions. America had become a Persian bazaar of self-help. But there still seemed to be no clear answers. Do you take care of others or take care of your inner child? Return to traditional values or reject tradition as useless? Seek success or seek simplicity? Just say no or just do it? All I knew was this. Morrie, my old professor, wasn't in the self-help business. He was standing on the tracks listening to death's locomotive whistle, and he was very clear about the important things in life. I wanted that clarity. Every confused and tortured soul I knew wanted that clarity. Ask me anything, Morrie always said. So I wrote a list. Death, fear, aging, greed, marriage, family, society, forgiveness, a meaningful life. The list was in my bag when I returned to West Newton for the 4th time, a Tuesday in late August when the air conditioning at the Logan Airport terminal was not working. And people fanned themselves and wiped sweat angrily from their foreheads, and every face I saw looked ready to kill somebody. By the start of my senior year, I have taken so many sociology classes, I am only a few credits shy of a degree. Morrie suggests I try an honors thesis. Me? I ask. What would I write about? What interests you? He says. We bat it back and forth until we finally settle on, of all things, sports. I began a year-long project on how football in America has become ritualistic, almost a religion, an opiate for the masses. I have no idea what this is training for my future career. I only know it gives me another once-a-week session with Morrie. And with his help, by spring, I have a 112-page thesis, researched, footnoted, documented, and neatly bound in black leather. I show it to Morrie with the pride of a little leaguer rounding the bases on his first home run. Congratulations, Morrie says. I grin as he leafs through it, and I glance around his office. The shelves of books, the hardwood floor, the throw rug, the couch. I think to myself that I have just sat about everywhere there is to sit in this room. I don't know, Mitch, Morrie muses, adjusting his glasses as he reads. With work like this, we may have to get you back here for grad school. Yeah, right, I say. I snicker, but the idea is momentarily appealing. Part of me is scared of leaving school. Part of me wants to go desperately. Tension of opposites. I watch Morrie as he reads my thesis and wonder what the big world will be like out there. So now we have the audio-visual part 2. Okay, so we've still got a couple other chapters to read. I am going to... Okay, I can get this done in 5 minutes. Sorry, I just got to make sure that we keep it under 15 minutes or else it's going to cut me off. Okay, so the professor. He was 8 years old. A telegram came from the hospital, and since his father, a Russian immigrant, could not read English, Morrie had to break the news, reading his mother's death notice like a student in front of the class. "We regret to inform you," he began. On the morning of the funeral, Morrie's relatives came down the steps of his tenant building on the Lower East Side of Manhattan. The men wore dark suits. The women wore veils. The kids in the neighborhood were going off to school, and as they passed, Morrie looked down, ashamed that his classmates would see him this way. One of his aunts, a heavy-set woman, grabbed Morrie and began to wail. "What will you do without your mother? What will become of you?" Morrie burst into tears. His classmates ran away. At the cemetery, Morrie watched as they shoveled dirt into his mother's grave. He tried to recall the tender moments they had shared when she was still alive. She had operated a candy store until she got sick, after which she mostly slept or sat by the window, looking frail and weak. Sometimes she would yell out for her son to get her some medicine, and young Morrie, playing stickball in the street, would pretend he did not hear her. In his mind, he believed he could make the illness go away by ignoring it. How else can a child confront death? Morrie's father, whom everyone called Charlie, had come to America to escape the Russian army. He worked the fur business, but was constantly out of a job. Uneducated and barely able to speak English, he was terribly poor, and the family on public assistance much of the time. Their apartment was a dark, cramped, depressing place behind the candy store. They had no luxuries, no car. Sometimes, to make money, Morrie and his younger brother David would wash porch steps together for a nickel. After their mother's death, the two boys were sent off to a small hotel in Connecticut woods, where several families shared a large cabin and a communal kitchen. The fresh air might be good for the children, the relatives thought. Morrie and David had never seen so much greenery, and they ran and played in the fields. One night after dinner, they went for a walk and it began to rain. Rather than come inside, they splashed around for hours. The next morning, when they awoke, Morrie hopped out of bed. "Come on," he said to his brother, "get up." "I can't." "What do you mean?" David's face was panicked. "I can't move." He had polio. Of course, the rain did not cause this, but a child Morrie's age could not understand that. For a long time, as his brother was taken back and forth to a special medical home and was forced to wear braces on his legs which left him limping, Morrie felt responsible. So in the mornings, he went to synagogue by himself because his father was not a religious man. And he stood among the swaying men in their long black coats and he asked God to take care of his dead mother and his sick brother. And in the afternoons, he stood at the bottom of the subway steps and hawked magazines, turning whatever money he made over to his family to buy food. In the evenings, he watched his father eat in silence, hoping for, but never getting, a show of affection, communication, warmth. At 9 years old, he felt the weight of a mountain were on his shoulders. But a saving embrace came into Morrie's life the following year, his new stepmother, Eva. She was a short Romanian immigrant with plain features, curly brown hair, and the energy of two women. She had a glow that warmed the otherwise murky atmosphere his father created. She talked when her new husband was silent. She sang songs to the children at night. Morrie took comfort in her soothing voice, her school lessons, her strong character. When his brother returned from the medical home, still wearing leg braces from the polio, the two of them shared a rollaway bed in the kitchen of their apartment, and Eva would kiss them goodnight. Morrie waited on those kisses like a puppy waits on milk, and he felt deep down that he had a mother again. Okay, this is going to cut me off. Sorry, this is going to cut me off in 30 seconds. So we're right here, okay? So now it's your job to read this right here, this page, and that's it. Stop right here. Do not read the fourth Tuesday we talk about death. So I'm just like a page and a half short, okay? So make sure that you read the rest of this on your own, fill out your study guide, submit it, message me on Schoology, or hop into the Zoom if you guys have questions.